Hey guys, David here, and welcome to a brand new episode. On this week's episode, we got Greg Perlaki all the way from Maidenhead. Greg, how are things?
Yes, really good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No
Yeah, it's great to
worries.
be here.
No worries, no worries. So I know the title of this is Greg on functional training, but when we had that pre-chat then, we're going to cover a lot of aspects of just running the fitness business in general and a
Mhm.
lot of other things. So if you've just seen the title and you're like, oh, maybe that's not the one for me, then do tune in. Greg, as he's going to probably explain to us now, has his own fitness business, his own studio and everything. But let's start, Greg, with how was it you got into the fitness industry?
Yeah, basically, I got into fitness industry by accident, so to speak. I mean, I always been very athletic. I've done lots of sport as a kid, like martial arts, those type of things, football, and actually, I'm from Hungary, from Eastern Europe, and then we moved to Cyprus for like good 6 years, and then basically. Hold on, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So basically, yeah, I got in touch with. I started to doing some home-based training, and everything that I learned from using these funky sandbags led to my fitness education, and then that's how I basically started just like get into fitness. And then when we moved to the UK, I actually came to this country with the intention of becoming a personal trainer and to do everything that I do today.
So the official name for the funky sandbags is what?
It's they called Ultimate Sandbags, and it's basically an American training system. It's the DVRT, Dynamic Variable Resistance Training, which is it's like it's not only sandbags, but we use lots of functional training tools like kettlebells, suspension trainers, resistance bands, and kind of doing it in a very systematic way.
Nice, nice. So when was it that you moved to the UK then?
So that was like 9 years ago.
Okay. And
Yeah.
was this type of training a thing back then, or is it something that you've kind of been able to bring into the UK?
Basically, yeah, it's to be honest, yeah, it wasn't really in like obviously there's loads of functional training in the UK anyway, so there's a lot of people using kettlebells and other like suspension trainers and things like that. But with this type of training, we kind of I brought this into the country as sort of like a unique thing on using sandbags and kettlebells together and doing it in a very fun and dynamic way.
Nice, nice. Okay. So you moved to the UK, you have this kind of almost a brand new style of training. How
Mhm.
were you able to generate leads and clients and just tell people about it when it's something quite new and something that people haven't come across before?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I always been like sort of a poster boy for this type of training. So everything that I teach, I do myself, and basically the very first years, I always just sort of like picked up clients that basically like I got a lot of clients out of like like showcasing that this type of training with
Mm.
my own clientele. So and then obviously word of mouth, and then sort of like it generated into a more professional business. And then during the pandemic, I moved to my own location, so and that's when it started to pick up a little bit more. But I mean, I have been doing like educational programs on the side, so I've been doing loads of like online educational programs. So I do have that physical location as a gym, and obviously I train my clients using these principles. But I also teach this training system to other professionals.
Nice, nice. Okay. So when it goes to running a fitness business then, and maybe people want to follow this style of training,
Mhm.
before you had your studio, were you doing it out of a boot camp, out of like a gym, out of somebody else's studio? Where were you doing it previously
Yeah,
then?
so I was running everything out of a local gym. It was one of the national sports centers near where I live, and yeah, I mean I was working there for about 6 years, I believe. Yeah, 6 7 years. Yeah, and then and yeah, I pretty much I've done a lot of training out of that gym, and then I moved to my own location, which actually gave me just a lot more freedom in terms of how I run my business, how we structure the clients, semi-private or not. So it just gives you much more flexibility when you have your own space.
Yeah, I'm guessing because that was the kind of question I was going to come into. When you're doing, like you say, the sandbag movements and the kettlebells and TRX and all that type of stuff, if you're doing that
Mhm.
in a commercial gym, it must be quite hard to find enough space or even the right equipment to be able to do what it is you want to do.
Yeah, well, that was certainly a challenge at the beginning, and I did have access to a larger space, a studio, but having your own, own gym it just means that you could have like so much more flexibility in terms of the timing and how you actually structure your classes and with the pandemic. Obviously having your own little space and using your own equipment, it also sort of like it became an issue, but I think we managed to do it so well that like everyone have their own equipment. There's no sharing in terms of using the equipment, and then and obviously you can accomplish a lot with just using these tools, getting into different positions and such. So I think that also comes up when it comes to like picking up these tools for different trainings.
Nice. Okay. So you moved into your studio then. How
Mhm.
different was that being able to tell people and share people what you do with having your own studio compared to, like you say, you're working out of a national coaching sports
Yeah.
center, did you
Mhm.
say?
Oh yeah, I mean it's major. I mean, I think it's just even bringing people together. As you bring clients together, people actually love to have that. The community aspect of the training, so they don't just come to you for for training, but they actually come. They come to see all the other people, and I think that's the major part of having your own gym, because people get to know each other, and then the whole thing just kind of builds from there.
Nice. And the final question on the gym, then, because this is going to be one thing that a lot of the people watching or listening to this are going to be
Mhm.
thinking. How did you go out about finding your own venue? Because that is a question that comes up a lot. How did you get started? How did you find the venue?
Well, to be fair, yeah, by accident. I was I actually I put myself out there that I wanted to move to like a specific location, and I didn't know like what's gonna happen or if I find anything. And then out of the blue, so to speak, one of my former clients gave me a call, and then it turned out that he had a space that is that is up for rent, and I went to have a look, and yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah, yeah. It shows that it proves that if you keep your clients happy, you'll never know when down the line you'll need them again. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm really interested in this type of this workout exercise of the equipment that
Mhm.
I'm using, and I'm going to get my own studio. Is it going to cost me as much to use these type of tools as it would be to install a rig and to get all the dumbbell sets and the
Mhm.
barbells and everything like that, or is it quite a bit cheaper using the tools that you're talking about?
I think it's a great question, and it's a really important question when it comes to like picking the right equipment and then how much you can get out of that equipment. I think it's something that like a lot of us need to consider when we picking an equipment. So I mean, it's a lot cheaper to use free weights and functional training tools like kettlebells or sandbags, suspension trainers, because there are so many other variables that you can actually use to program to create that progressive overload. So basically, you could just get into different positions, and people immediately notice the difference. So it doesn't just become a sort of a weight issue, but it's we're using all other variables like such as body position, the way you load the equipment, different planes of motion. So to answer your question, is a lot more cost effective to train people that way than just sort of like having a really expensive like equipment, like like big rigs or things like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love a good rig, but again, it's it's one of those things that like if you limit it on space, then you got to consider like what is it that you're going to use it for.
Okay, so somebody's watching or listening to this now. They know the big rigs, the dumbbells, the plates. They know all this stuff, and now you're talking about kettlebells and sandbags and TRXs. Now, I've seen some of the trainings and movements that you do. For somebody that hasn't seen this type of stuff, how could you explain some of the movements and the exercises and the way you work out?
Yeah, basically, we designed the programs on the so it's very much like movement based, but it's still we're still using a lot of resistance. So actually, the resistance provide a good feedback on the movement. Obviously, when it comes to like starting out with beginners, you will do with you start with the nice and stable positions, and then slowly over time you get people into moving into like different directions, and that creates different stimulus on, especially on the midsection, on the core, and then oftentimes we use these tools to to provide that great feedback for the client, so they actually feel their core coming alive, and it gives them like a good full body workout, and as well as they get really strong for for everyday activities.
Nice. Okay, so people have seen some of your movements, or maybe they've gone research, or they kind of got the gist of what you were saying then.
Yeah.
And you're saying for the beginners, you have more stable movements. Is it a complicated way of? I mean, no, not complicated. Is it difficult to explain to your clients this type of movements? Because after all, they've just seen typical people in the gym, maybe do a bench press, or like the video I saw was a gorilla row. And you were showing
Sure.
different ways of doing this gorilla row, or different types of movements to it.
Yeah.
Is it more complicated to do it your way than just the standard gorilla row?
No, it's not more complicated. It's it always comes down to like we always do like a knee dominant exercise, and it's always full body. Like when it comes to designing a great program, especially for clients that only come to see us trainers for like 2-3 times a week, we want to hit all the big muscles. So basically compound movement. But we also want to create better connections. So those muscles, they kind of, they work nicely together. And then, so we always start with, sort of some knee dominant movement, hip dominant movement, push, pull, resisting rotation, maybe doing some very basic rotational movements as well. And then just, it's a full body. So they always get to work on a lot of muscles together. That creates that great metabolic effect, and also there's no such a thing as sort of like pattern overload. So so those are the principles that we go by.
Nice. Okay. So if somebody's quite interested in this then, but their target isn't the metabolic effect, the weight loss, the kind of toning, and they want to put sheer size on and muscle on, would this type of training still work and benefit them?
No, I think absolutely, yeah. I think there's so many ways that you can actually put on muscle other than lifting heavy. Obviously, lifting heavy, yes, that is important, but it's also when you are when you get into different positions, then body positions, that you'll get strong in every position, not just on the bench. Don't get me wrong, you could still do a lot of bench press if you want to, but I mean, it's actually maximizing all the training variables that we have available. So like all the different planes of motions, different body positions to get strong in every possible angle.
Nice. Okay, so like you say, you've got the cross movements, different planes of movement, and all this type of stuff. Are people more likely to get injured doing this type of training then, compared to, I don't know, just doing a bicep curl on a machine where it's one movement, it's real kind of impossible to kind of get hurt?
Yeah, I mean, you will be surprised. Impossible to get hurt. People can get hurt in every position, and to be fair, a lot of times injuries happen when we least expect it. Basically, when you're brushing your teeth, or you're putting your clothes on, and then all of a sudden you put your back out. Now that like this could happen if you not, let's say, prepared for that position. Like the other important factor to consider is not to pattern overload. So let's say we would only do an upper body push session, and you maximize on your push, and then you do that push from the bench, you do it from an incline, you do it from every possible angle, and basically yes, you are doing that hypertrophy, but of actually training your back at the same time. And then this is true for guys, who want to get big. I used to be like that. I was doing all the different like presses and bench and incline and decline and everything that you could, cable flies, all of that in one session. But then my shoulder get hurt because I never really trained the sort of the backside, the posterior chain, and when it comes to the shoulder doesn't just work on its own. It actually connected to the opposite hip, and then when you build that connection, how the body is meant to move, you not only actually don't get hurt, but you actually create like a more injury resilient body, along with all the other benefits of building size and having a strong core, and just simply being more athletic, which is actually a lot of people want to be more athletic, but they just get sort of like put into this box of doing the so-called traditional strength exercises.
Nice. Okay, so you're kind of almost saying this is kind of like a good prehab flexibility, all over body movement workout and exercises.
Yeah, to be fair, like if you train movement patterns, you're going to hit a lot of muscles. If you only train just the specific muscle, you're going to miss the movement part. So, and what happens is when you miss the movement part is when it comes to everyday activities, and then that's when you more likely you get hurt. I'm not saying that's going to happen, because there's a lot of things that you can do and include into your training. But what happens is if you like most of our clients only come and see us like 2-3 times a week. And then if we are able to maximize the impact that we have on that on clients in that 1 hour, then we could actually train like mobility, flexibility at the same time, core strength, very important. People put that on the last thing to train. Whereas what if if you create that stable core during the strength exercises, people just get stronger overall and more athletic, less likely to get hurt. So in my eyes, it's a win-win for everyone.
Nice. Okay, and then guessing you can correlate or relate some of these exercises to everyday life. Like you say, functional training, it's all about common movements that they would do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm guessing, like, if you were teaching mums and stuff who have just had children, you could give them good movements to strengthen areas and stuff, rather than just doing a typical squat. There's a lot more movements holding the child to squatting down with the child and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's it's doing, like, let's say when it comes to squat, you don't just want to squat in one sort of like up and down motion. You actually want to do it in many different directions to get strong every angle. And to be fair, there's a lot of times that what happens is, like, well, people that have like weaker core, they're not able to do that squat in a good range of motion because their core is not really turned on. Now, if we could get into different positions and even to get the core more active, then we're able to improve their mobility in the hips as well. So you've got to be sort of like more individualized as well, but also need to understand how the body works and how you create that, the deeper squat. It always starts with the core.
Nice. Okay, so people are watching this, they're listening to this, and they're now getting quite intrigued by some of the stuff that you're saying. What are some of the basic movements or basic movements that they could learn quickly now to kind of show their clients and start presenting a new form of training?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many basic ones. I like to start with some of the core exercises, like the dead bugs, classic dead bugs, which is basically improving the stability in the core and connecting the lower body to the upper body. And I do this with bands and various equipments. But basically, the more you are able to stabilize your core, the better your arms and your legs are going to move, which is quite important for many people, like general population, people who like sit a lot at the desk, or like maybe even try to play golf or tennis or things like that. So was based on creating that stable foundation through the core and including the upper body and the lower body. So a dead bug, for example, would be a great exercise for many people. And there are so many ways to add different progressions, different layers to that dead bug. So you're able to actually customize that to your clientele, to your, if it's one-to-one, if it's group training, we do that with small groups or larger groups as well.
Nice. Okay, so to kind of close slowly now, is there anything you think I've not asked about this style of training that maybe I've not thought of and that everybody should really kind of know?
Yeah, I think it's just sort of, like well, basically, a lot of people would you draw or like to compare to other things that they know, like kettlebells are really popular, and for a reason, because they are great functional training tool. You use your whole body, but then even with kettlebells, you can actually create these sort of like small progressions to improve your clients with a big impact.
Nice. Okay, so I'm intrigued. I want to get started. I want to try and learn more about this stuff. Where are some good places to go initially to kind of learn this stuff, to kind of discover more about it?
Yeah, so basically, you can find me on Facebook, Greg Perlaki, or we have a website, Facebook page. Most of the social media platforms we are on at DVRT Fitness UK. So that's DVRT Fitness _ UK. So we are on YouTube or Facebook, Instagram, all of that. We have a free Facebook page with plenty of information for trainers who want to find out more about functional training.
Nice. And they can watch some of your videos and kind of just get an intro into kind of how it all works, really.
Yeah, absolutely. We have also like a free PDF that we send out to trainers about the 5 best functional training exercises that have the biggest impact in their training business.
Nice. Appreciate it. Greg, thank you for coming on today. Thank you for sharing a little bit more about the functional or a unique style of training. And hopefully some people now will kind of research a little bit more and start to implement some of this stuff with their own clients.
I appreciate it.
No worries. Hopefully we'll get you on further down the line, but thank you for coming on. We'll speak to you soon.
Take care. Thank you.